This like nerd culture, which we are all in, 40 years ago was looked down on. And if you read comic books, then you went and you sat at the nerd table at lunch, and you weren't you had no chance at being in the popular crowd, and it conveyed necessarily a sort of misery to your life. And it gave people who read comics, who played video games, who did theater, who did whatever the nerd culture that you were a part of, a a, a not unreasonable sense of victimhood. And that sense of victimhood, I think, has become central to the nerd identity. And as comics become more mainstream, I say become more mainstream as though it's a process that's still ongoing. Marvel is the highest grossing franchise ever by such a wild margin,
Yeah.
Marvel and Pokemon.
Your grandma
Um,
knows who Ant-Man is, so.
yeah, exactly.
Well, Ant-Man
Uh,
was stretch.
we're no longer on the outside of society. We're no longer the outliers of culture. We are culture. And I think there's a desire to maintain that identity as downtrodden and outcast, because everyone loves an underdog. And when you can't, when you are culture and you're trying to position yourself as on the outside, a really easy way to get back that feeling of being better than everyone else is to put up walls and to say, you know, the comic book culture that you like isn't real comic book culture. I'm still the underdog. I'm still the outcast. I'm still the downtrodden. And it's bullshit. And I don't know. I don't know that I'm working towards a point, but you asked me to
Yes,
describe
no, I think
the origins,
I
and
think that all makes sense. Do you feel like this is a male specific problem?
I think that, and I am giving this answer from the perspective of specifically a cis white man,
Mhm.
and um, I think that everything I just described about nerd culture can apply to a large extent to cis white men as well. That we have spent hundreds of years being the ones we were the important ones, and everyone else could be dismissed. And it was a different sort of specialness than the nerd culture specialness, but it was still a specialness.
Mhm.
And both of those things coming under threat at the same time. And I say under threat as though like we're losing anything. We're not losing anything. We only stand to gain when the pool gets larger. But as that sense of specialness came to be questioned, the reaction which says, um, you no, I am a man and that remains special. And the reaction which says, no, I am a nerd and that remains special. Those two became very entangled. And I think it's telling and important to note that the same tools that were used by Gamergate, which then had its own spin-off in Comicsgate, that those same tools, that same tapping into anger, the right wing noticed that. And the modern political situation that we see ourselves in, MAGA took notice of Comicsgate and Gamergate and said, "Oh, this is how we do it. This is how we radicalize. This is how we build a movement based on anger."
It's not only noticed. I mean, a lot of the folks at the center of our of our conservative politics right now were the people at the center of Gamergate. So it's not just noticed; it's
Yeah. Yeah.
inherited. Yeah.
The calls coming from inside the house in a lot of ways.